Why, Mesopotamia? Why did you do it? Oh, actually, no, sorry, never mind. Actually, it's why Mesopotamia? Why this place and not another? Well, that is the question, and that's the question we will answer with this new edition of Mr. Shea's videos. Dun dun dun. Soon I'll have a budget for music, and that'll be great. But until then, dun dun dun, I'll do my own sound effects. Dun dun dun. Alright, well, first off, as you can see in this image here, which is of what's modern day Mesopotamia, the land is fertile. And fertile land is land that you can grow crops on easily. So fertile land allows for farms to develop, which supports not only crops and those domesticated animals, but the people that grow them and raise them. So we've mentioned the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. Mesopotamia, as we have also mentioned, means the land between two rivers. So these rivers are able to provide for this fertile land. But how can a river provide for fertile land, Mr. Shea, you ask? Is it bringing me land? Well, good question. Yes, it does, is the short answer. Long answer is right here. So we have these rivers, and they're going to, if you look at the map, we're going to first look at Sumer, which is in the southeast region of Mesopotamia, that purple land. And Sumer is really where people start to settle in this land that can grow crops. So what is special about Sumer and all of the regions in here, what is special is silt. Now silt, if you look, you're like, that looks like mud. Well, yes, it is mud. And silt is a very fertile substance that is carried by rivers, and it gets deposited on the edges of the rivers. And silt allows for plants to grow extremely well. So without nutrients, plants cannot grow, and silt provides a great deal of those nutrients. So it's carried by the rivers, and it deposits it on its banks. So people see that the silt is being deposited along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and they start to settle in Sumer. And it allows them to grow crops. Now, while right along the river you have all the silt and you have all that water that also helps grow your crops, it's not necessarily always further inland, so further from that river. So the people that settle in Sumer and around start to create these irrigation canals. An irrigation canal is essentially a ditch that you dig in the ground, and it allows the water to flow from the rivers to your fields, and it brings along with it that silt. So irrigation canals allow farms to expand further and further away from those rivers, and helps to really expand those farms to greater and greater sizes and distances. And even today, this is an image today, people dig these irrigation canals by hand depending on the region you are in. Now, as rivers tend to do when there's heavy rainfall, there's often flooding. And certainly we are happy about that silt, which is helping our plants grow. We're happy about the water that keeps the plants nourished and our cattle drinking. However, floods can quickly ruin everything that you have created. So this man here, this is in China, is essentially digging out his house from silt. That's all silt that he is standing in. And the problem is flooding. Humans are dependent on the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. However, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers aren't a person that you can reason with, and sometimes they flood, and they can kill people, destroy your homes, even though it's also providing this great silt. So people in Mesopotamia also need to figure out how to stop the flooding. And to do so, they build levees. This is an image of a levee in Mississippi. All right, it's along the Mississippi River. And the levee is the one in the background with those stairs on it. And it essentially is a wall that is built on the edge of the river so that when it floods, it does not just simply spill out and hit those homes in the back. It is able to rise up. The river can rise and not cause a lot of damage. Certainly, there's a lot of rain sometimes and it can go over the levee. But when it comes to normal flooding, levees, essentially they're dirt walls, they help prevent any serious damage caused by the flooding of the river. So, we have people settling in Sumer. We have these farms that are growing. Irrigation canals are being dug. Levees are being built to protect the people. And what the people of Sumer start realizing is that it is easier to work together. It's easier to work together to create these structures, create these systems, and that's really where we start to see governments starting to form and people getting together to create a society, to create a community. And thus we have, dun dun dun, city-states. Now, city-states they're not just a city. They're not just a state. And a state is another term for a country. It's those two combined. So this is zoomed in on Sumer. And you see all these red dots. And all these are different city-states that arose in that region of Mesopotamia. And city-states function as essentially independent countries, but they are very small, the size of a city. And what these city-states are able to do is help build those levees, help figure out irrigation, organize people. However, since everyone wants all those irrigation canals, everyone wants to control that water. Certain disputes and arguments start arising between city-states, and there's a need for protection. So city-states start building walls. They start building walls to protect their people. They start building walls and having soldiers being able to stand guard, to protect their canals, to protect their people. So city-states start to function to protect their people from disputes between each other, to protect their cities themselves. So now we have these cities arising, as we've talked about, and that's where we start getting soldiers, that specialization, that division of labor. So that is why Mesopotamia, that is why people would want to go there. And tomorrow, unless you're watching this in the morning, in which case today or tomorrow, we are going to start trying to figure out how to advertise and get people to move to this lovely location. Until then, dun dun dun.